And that's going, and we're starting the stream, and that'll probably take about 5 seconds to kick. Okay, I think we're in official stream mode now. And but anyhow, Guillaume, how are you?
I'm doing great, thanks. Thanks for having me, Jeeps, and let's listen to some music today.
Yeah, no, I look forward to it. I know that probably people are going to start kind of bebopping in on the stream, and as they do, in a few minutes we'll get up with some of the music and stuff. But just briefly, if you don't mind me asking, your love for music, it seems that it stems, at least a lot of what we have here, that it stems from video games. At least what I see here in your suggestions. Is that true?
Yes, some of it, of course, I've been listening to music all my life, and before I played video games. But then again, I started playing video games when I was a kid. So like it's intertwined. I've listened to um, rock music that my dad listened to,
Mm.
or just to music as I was playing video games, and I've been influenced by a lot of things.
So, I mean, but I noticed, I don't know if that I could see in the background there. Is that a lot of video games, CDs back there in your bookshelf? I could see a little bit.
Well, actually, there are some games, yeah, some PlayStation 1 games at the bottom there, but also some legit CDs for music.
Oh, super cool. So listen, everybody, I know some of you folks are just coming in. This is not the same mistake like I made this morning. DR and I were just so first of all, I just want to introduce you to DR, or he's better known as Damned Registration here in our stream and everything. And he's going to chime in now and then. I'm going to chime in on chat as far as typing, but what we're doing is 1 a.m. and the mods and stuff had announced that we were going to do this kind of channel redemption of 140,000 points where I sit with you. In this case, DR, offered to come on live so he can say hi and wave to everybody and we can talk story together. But, there's also the other option that you can just do it audio. So this is what we're doing. So everybody, I want to introduce you to DR. DR, this is the stream. There's only a few of us in here right now, but say, how's it?
How's it?
And also, by virtue of me having to resize everything, the chat stuff is over my chest. Should I move it over the microphone? Maybe hang out for 1 second. Let's give some time, too, for some of the folks to come in. I'm going to move the chat over just a skosh. I just went Japanese on everybody. Stand by. Squishy, the chat. Okay, maybe I'll move it over here. No, that doesn't work. Move over. No, I just keep it over me. What the heck? Kind of works out okay. There we go. All right. Yeah, save your channel points. That's the thing. I mean, if you want to do the hangout session with me, and this is a very special redemption. Actually, Damned Registration, or we're going to say DR from now on. And I worked out a gitchy little way to do this via Discord and stuff. So not only is he our first channel points redemption of 140,000, but he's also kind of being my tech buddy on this and trying to work me through a few things here. So anyhow, well, Kairu, you must get better for us, please. Or maybe you can do, you can see the chat too as well on screen, yeah, DR?
I can see the chat on my screen, yes. And
Okay,
Kara,
good.
I'm sure you will appreciate some of those songs.
Yes, this is right up Kairu's alley. Yes, definitely, get yourself healthy, man. Or you can actually take one of your wonderful pieces of artwork and we can put that in as a profile pic or something like that, and you can go audio live with me as well. So anyhow, yeah, that's my story and I'm sticking to it. I'm going to wait just about another couple of minutes just for a few other people to roll in. And I don't know if I have any of my mods here. Let's see if, yes. Can you see how, DR, can you see how Carol is just making sure that this is for real and it's not me doing what I did this morning?
I saw that.
Yes, this is the real thing. The one this morning was hilarious, and I did save that on my Twitch playback, and I also put it up on my YouTube avocado one just because I thought it was really stupid and funny. So anyhow, what happened this morning is exactly what happened, Ivy Creep. I just was like, I blew it. What I did, you guys know me and my buttons. I was talking to DR about this before we started this stream. I was like, I just wanted to wake up in the morning and I just wanted to do this thing about heavy metal and meditation. And I just wanted to have a conversation on the oxymoron, but yet what that was, blah, blah, blah. Anyhow, if you guys know OBS, the stop streaming or start streaming is right below, above the start recording, stop recording. And if I don't like take a cold shower in the morning and have 2 cups of coffee, you know that my button pressing issues are going to be 5 times worse. So I started recording and that's what happened. That was kind of hilarious. So it's a trip, but that's what happens to us old folks. All right, let me make one last call really quick. Do I have any of the mods hanging out here by chance, even if you're lurking? Maybe 1 a.m. or maybe did I miss something here? Stand by. Yeah, I'm sure they're cruising in there. All right, so what do you say we get going? How about that?
Yeah, perfectly.
Okay. Alrighty. So it's official. We're starting our first channel redemption here with one of our profile members, Damned Registration. From now on forward, he's going to be known as DR. DR, are you ready to go through some of your music?
I'm ready to rock.
All right, man, let's do this. It looks like the first track that we're going to be listening to is something called Sister Awake. What exactly is this track? Is this a cover of or what?
Not that I'm aware. I don't think it's a cover. It sounds original. It's a band called The Tea Party from Toronto, I think. And they make interesting music, maybe like a mix of rock and oriental influences. So you'll be able to tell, I'm sure, within the first few seconds of the track.
I like that. Very interesting. Very interesting. Rock with oriental influences. Actually, we've listened, I think, on the streams, Japanese culturally influenced metal as well in the past. So yeah, let's see what this is all about. Let's go. And everybody in the stream, if there's a little audio issues, just go ahead and pipe in and let's see what we got going on. Nice, crispy acoustic guitar.
When the winter was over, she returned there to find him.
Yeah, I love the tone of his voice.
Memories filled her with light. She remembered the beauty. She remembered
It's like layered sitar work back there.
desire, and her memories filled her with light. I am the sun in the flame, cold from the flame turns away, and in these winds came a change. She awakes.
And the influence of that drone note too, especially.
Same thing you talked about earlier today.
Yeah. There's the bass. I was waiting for the bass. Ooh, and growling bass too.
Sister, walk through these fields of delight. I want you to know. Desperation's the tenderest trap, so gently you go. What will it take, sister, awake? Sister, awake.
That melody in the background. I love that. Definitely has some Led Zeppelin features in it as well, for me, nostalgically.
For sure. Reminds you of Kashmir, doesn't it?
Yes, it's got that vibe for sure.
Angel, look to the heavens above and taste its deceit. These temptations have blinded desires to sleep at their feet. What will it take, sister, awake? Sister, awake.
Even that turnaround right there has got that Zeppelin thing to it.
Total agreement here.
Angel, hear them call out your name, invoking their fates. Chances are you travel too far, it's still in your head, so what will it take?
That's a very super cool riff. The guitar's digging into it. I like how they let us off the roller coaster slowly.
Yep. Starts slow, wild ride, and it ends slowly.
Yeah, I really love the track. Actually, the opening minute, even before the sitars popped in, reminded me of. You guys are gonna have to help me, or those of you in the chat. First of all, how's it, everybody in the chat? If you have any questions on what you're doing, just ask, and we'll let you know. The opening of the track actually reminded me a little bit of the audition song in that movie where Jennifer Aniston and I think Mark Wahlberg, he was trying to be a rock star. What was the name of that movie? Anybody in the chat remember the name of the movie, the Jennifer Aniston, Mark Wahlberg movie or something? There was a song that they're doing to audition him. I think it's called Rockstar, yeah. And it had this kind of vibe to it. And what it is, too, is I can't tell if it's open tuning or if this is a pedal D that's being played. But the through line, obviously, is the drone. The da, that is always somewhere in there. And if it's not in there with the sitar and everything, like after, let's say, a minute, it was in there because of the voicings the acoustic guitar player was playing, which I think left the E and the B strings open to ring through, I believe. So it's very hypnotic, that this kind of a tone is extremely hypnotic. And I also loved his voice. You know, he kept it all kind of tame until the very last end, but even his tame, softer voice still had a little bit of, you know, I'm there, I'm present. It wasn't airy. But then the buildup of the track I loved even more when we started getting, when the drums came in. I'm so used to sometimes hearing over-processed drum sounds with some of the newer metalcore sounds and stuff like that. It was a real joy to hear a big fat snare and everything. So I really dug the track. How long has this been on your playlist?
I bought this very album, I think maybe when it came out, I think like 15 years ago or something. And I did not know the track before then. This is a compilation album. This is a best of sorts. So I knew some from this group, but not that one particular. But I fell in love with it.
No, I can understand that, and you're right, and it does have that Kashmir vibe too. There's something about the music that comes out of, let's say, has the Hindu influence, the India influence, the Pakistani influence. A lot of the instruments that will come out of there are very drone oriented, and it's kind of got the same vibe as the Celtic vibe, you know, the bagpipes. But what they have in common, the Moroccan, Celtic, Hindu style types of compositions, there's always that drone. Like on the bagpipe, there's always that drone. There's always that. And it's very seductive. That was a great track. So let's go on to the next one. Everybody here, if you're just here for the first time, we're actually just doing a channel redemption with our friend. If you're one of our usual suspects here on the stream, I'd like to introduce you to DR, better known as Damned Registration. And he won or he didn't won, he earned the opportunity to go through a whole hour of his playlist by redeeming 140,000 channel points. So that's what we're doing here. Okay, next up, this one is okay, so I think I might have this correct. Terranigma Underground. So what is this?
So Terranigma is a game that came out on the Super Nintendo. When was it? Maybe 1995 or something like that. So this is an action RPG where you have your little guy and you you attack stuff with a sword, basically. But there's a
I like
story.
that description. I like that. The little guy and you attack stuff with a sword. It could be Minecraft. It could be any.
Yeah, so it's like top down. You see your character moving on the underworld, and you go through killing enemies and fighting bosses and interacting with people. It's a very nice game.
And this particular track, out of all of the tracks that you chose, what does this represent in the game? Is this a mission part of the game, or is this a battle part of the game?
So I believe, and it's been a very long time since I've played this game, but I believe that this is an area where you are like in a dungeon of sorts. So I don't have the exact story behind it, unfortunately.
All right, well, let's just listen to it and see what we got here. So this one is Terranigma Underground. All right. Hang on, I'm going to restart that because we had that little donkey skip in there. Here we go. It's giving me the Final Fantasy VII vibe.
It's a little earlier than Final Fantasy, but yeah, I can see where they're going there.
I think I'm saying that because of the sounds that are used. Yeah. Very interesting. It's almost like it's pseudo fusion 8-bit.
Yes, interesting way to put it.
He loves to play around with the little key change.
I love the bass line behind it.
Yeah, to me, that's the one that's got all the grip.
Sometimes it makes me wonder, what would it sound like if someone played it with like actual live instruments?
That'd be a hell of an arrangement.
Yeah.
That timpani's just eating up the house.
Now you've probably noticed that it's looping.
Yeah.
It's gonna cut out very soon. A feature of games of that time.
So, obviously I made that parallel with Final Fantasy. I think it's because obviously you know as well as I do, I'm a noob gamer at best, and I really haven't finished all but maybe a couple of games like Portal and stuff, I think. But I remember with playing Final Fantasy VII, the original, the classic, I'm sorry. We all talked about that 8-bit composing limitation based on, I guess, sounds on a chip that was provided for the composers. Like I was telling the composers, this is all you got to use. And I noticed a comment had said earlier, like, "Oh, dang, I've heard those drums before," and I'm wondering if this was an NES game, right? You said SNES or something.
SNES, yes, and it was part of a trilogy of games, so it's quite possible that in one of those other games in that trilogy, those same drums were used as well.
Right, exactly. It's so it working in virtue of working with whatever you had on the sound chip and available for you, even if different composers did a different part of a trilogy or something, it's still using the same sounds. I did really lean into the fact that when I was listening to it, I still get blown away at what it was these composers could do with what little they had to work with, as well as take the opportunities to be really musical. And to me, when I had said to you, I said, this is like 8-bit prog. Because if you really, the way I listen to it as a composer, each one of those sounds are being translated in my head to go, okay, that's the brass section. Okay, this is this. I can see what the drum is doing, even though the timpani's doing that. I could see that. And the chord changes and the awkward melodies that were coming around here just was very proggy, don't you think?
I think you're right there. Absolutely.
Yeah, it just had that prog vibe to it. And even if I was hired to translate that into something real time and real modern, even if I assign the sounds to the same exact MIDI information that came off of that chip, I'd have to sit back and go, bruh, that composer was higher than the game was. No, I mean, but in a good way.
Some people compare it to drawing the the Sistine Chapel, but doing it with Crayola.
Oh, I see. Yeah, that makes sense. That's a very good example. I'm going to have to use that in some other real life things. Okay, let's see what we got next here. Next here, we're going to do, another one from Terranigma, but it looks to me like this is possibly a live performance, is it not?
Exactly. So my earlier comment was foreshadowing this. So some people like the tunes enough that they want to reproduce them. And so there's a nice cover that I found interesting. So we can listen to it.
All right, let's do this. Here we go. This is called Terranigma, Dark Side Field, and it looks like this is a cover track. See, whole different vibe, yeah?
Absolutely.
This is great.
Some people are just way too talented.
Yeah, you don't have to tell me. I've got imposter syndrome because of it. I love the modulation of the harp, kind of swimming a little bit in the stereo imaging.
Yep. So you will only hear that if you wear headphones.
Yeah,
of
headsets,
course.
yeah. And that really rich, deep bass tone. That's also nice and wide at the bottom. A little bit of
To
a
me, it
Spanish
sounds-
edge.
Yeah. To me, it sounds like melancholic. It's
Yeah.
like a deep sadness, sadness, but some hopefulness in the song.
Yeah. Here's the hope right here. That major third. Yeah, like I said, this is reinforcing my imposter syndrome. When we were talking about some people are just way too talented, and there's just something magical about that. I think also what's wonderful about, whoops, sorry, stand by. That did that naturally, it wasn't supposed to. I think one of the things that was really, that has been fun in the journey on this stream that you guys have given me a lot of music that have been covered by a musician that plays all these instruments, is to also know that somehow, as exquisite and talented as some of these musicians are, they actually have time to play the games. You know what I mean? It's like these guys are just so naturally talented, and yet you know they've spent just as many hours playing the games, because there's a passion to it that's different. You know, all these people that do covers, if you're going to take, in my opinion, if you're going to take that time and energy and cover something in that capacity and give it your own life, then you actually have a wonderful attachment for the game play, the characters and stuff, don't you think?
Most likely. So who's gonna go out of their way to put so much effort into it for something that they're not passionate about, right?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And the guy also musically has nice, musicians know what I'm talking about when I say this, has great hands. And what I mean by that is I had made an example about a week ago when I'm talking about you could take all the best guitar players and give them the same solo to play, but whatever comes out of their hands in bends, in feel, and dynamic is what really makes the solo, alive. And so this musician as well, whether he's playing, I don't know, what was that? There was a that instrument. It looked clarinetish of sorts. I didn't spend a lot of time kind of diving into it, but it sounded really cool. What is it, Amon? What do you think it is? Oh, familiar. Oh, I'm sorry. It's not a familiar. No, that's not the name of the instrument. It's what you were saying the music was. Okay. So, okay, now I have another song up. It looks like we're going to shift gears here. What is this, like the band Nazareth, the heavy metal band?
Well, exactly, yes. So
Oh my
reason
God.
why I'm submitting this, and basically this is a song that is close to my heart just because I've heard it so many times when I was a kid. So my dad is a drummer, not in that band. He's not a drummer in a band, but he likes to just go in the basement on his drum set and drum whatever he likes. And this is one of the tracks that he really likes to play. So I cannot tell you how many times I've heard that one in my youth.
Well, let's hear it for your dad too. I mean, I think that's wonderful if you had that influence in the house, and not a lot of people get the opportunity to have their parents that play musicians let alone professionally, just to play and enjoy and actually partake in some of the influence, which is now you sitting with me, nostalgically listening to this track. So that's super cool. Let's check this out. This is Nazareth Simple Solution Parts 1 and 2. All right. So raw. Let's go.
A very rock and roll riff.
But very raw.
Yep.
This was that band that did You Ain't Nothing But a Son of a Bitch, right?
Exactly. That's Hair of the Dog, I think.
Hair of the Dog. And the riff has a little bit of that, kinda.
Yep. I've always found it unfortunate that they were most well known for Love Hurts.
That was a great track.
Yes. Not the same style though.
Such a classic band in there. There's a little bit of a Led Zeppelin, the Keeley's Last Stand bend with that.
That was the time for it.
Yep.
This is 1975 maybe?
Yeah, that was like the same exact era. I love how the drums are kind of campy. Just real straightforward, no trickery in there. Ooh, ooh, ooh. And the punchiness of the kick, too. Just such a wonderful time in recording the analog years. I loved how they weren't afraid to use cleaner tones on the guitar as well.
album.
That was such. Am I still rattling though? Help me for a second. Am I still fried my vocals?
You are.
Okay, I can fix this without having to dive. Hang on. But I'm gonna hang on. I'll type it in the chat really quick. Stand by. How about now?
I don't hear anything.
You don't hear anything. Oh shit.
Well, no, sorry. I mean, I don't hear any crackling.
Oh,
more
you
specific.
scared the hell out of me. I'm like, oh my god, no. I don't know why my mods and I have worked on so many reasons why in the middle of the stream it just decides to just have a brain fart and do it. You know, that track was really super nostalgic, and also what we were talking about earlier was the fact that it kind of was reminiscent to that Hair of the Dog. Was it? Was that what you said it was?
Yeah, Hair of the Dog is a sound, the name of an album and of a track, which is the one that you were referring to.
Yeah, and it has that. Well, it almost seems like the same guitar tone and very close to the riff kind of playing. Dun 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 dun. Well, no, that's the Beatles thing, but something of that nature there. And I always loved the vocals of that. I don't know why I haven't done any of them on Nazareth on my Decomposer Lounge. I think I'm going to have to dive in and just do a full nostalgic listen, because that's probably, truthfully, I don't know why, that was probably one of the tracks that, even though I wasn't really big on listening to radio and stuff, that I could hardly wait till it came on and play until I actually bought the album. It was just a really good hook. And I believe, wasn't that the one that had a lot of cowbell?
I think so, yes.
Now I'm thinking such a think a son of a bitch, or something like that.
Yes, exactly.
No, I can see Christopher Walken getting in there going, it needs a little more cowbell. But to know that your dad actually sat down and played this, and just, it's because I used to do that as a kid. And I would sit in my studio, or my dad's studio at the time, obviously, and play music. And my dad used to tell me he used to enjoy listening to me at least playing, the music. And that's part of even my dad's memory of me, growing up. But this was the other way around. And I just think that's just so badass that your father was, had a drum kit in the basement. I mean, he's my hero. Truly.
Well, thankfully, we didn't live anywhere close to people, so no neighbors get annoyed.
So in other words, you kept away all of the bears and all of the predators, just didn't want to get close to the house because Dad was keeping the bottom end cooking.
Exactly, yes, it worked.
It worked. Okay, now we're going to move on. Yes, Aman, his dad was a basement musician. That's the story of Boston. That, for a side note, that Boston's first album was recorded in a basement. As a matter of fact, he tricked the record label into saying it was done in a regular studio, and he kind of BS'd them, and that whole first album was actually done in a basement. So let's hear it for basement musicians. Okay, this next track we're going on is called Treasure Hunter GOST. So I'm not familiar with this. What is Treasure Hunter as a game?
It's a very little known game. I'm not even sure it got released outside of Japan. So it's another one of those Super Nintendo games. This one is a different style. It's more akin to a tactical RPG. You've never played one of those yourself, but it's more of a game where you are playing turn by turn, and you're trying to move actually you will see gameplay in the video itself, so that will speak louder than my words.
Okay, well, let's listen to this to see what we got here. All right. Start off with bass. Just get right to the point. I love the arrangement. Up in the back.
Little arpeggiations.
Yeah, yeah. It kind of goes good with the characters. Nice rhythmic, altering rhythmic arrangements going on there. Alternating. Has a little bit of a slight little salsa vibe right there. Or is it more of a Norteñan? When was this released? What year?
I will take a look, actually. I'm not sure. Probably 1994, maybe.
That's great. I love the So here we go
1996,
again.
Actually.
Here we go again. This is another composer that, with whatever limitations he has. I guess now we've just crossed over into 16-bit world, I believe, just by virtue of the sounds were a little bit more. Or it does say this is a high-quality version. Maybe they just mastered it. I don't know, but I don't know. It sounds like it could be.
I'm not sure what would be high quality specifically about this version, but I can tell you that the earlier one with Terranigma was also 16 bits.
Really? Okay. Then, because that one, the one that we did earlier, definitely was leaning into. That's why I said, that Final Fantasy VII classic vibe. And I don't know. I don't know. And I'm just know enough to be dangerous and just mention it. So I'll stop while I'm ahead. But it just sounded really clean. The choices of the tones were clean. Kairu says that it's a 16-bit as well, and it's a remastered version. But once again, it's to me what's so fascinating about music for games, even in the earlier era. I mean, you can go all the way back to the original Mario Brothers game. These composers had such wonderful opportunity to be expressive beyond the pop culture, if that makes any sense. Like if however music was being written in the 80s or the 90s on a pop culture kind of vibe, MTV, all that sort of stuff. These composers just like threw all that out the window and went for these great compositions, and even some of them only having 2 or 3 or 4 tracks to do things, but are so freaking memorable, And this is one of those tracks too, because like I said, there's this intricate rhythmical layering that's going on here, but yet it has like, I almost felt like I went to how am I going to say this? kind of a Renaissance Mexican food truck. I don't know. The only reason why I say that is because when I started saying salsa or something like that, it kind of had that a little bit of an kind of this Central American kind of vibe to it that was reminiscent to me in some of the Norteñan bands I used to second engineer for in the 80s. Like kind of a Norteñan vibe. But I was as interested as I was in the music and I was watching the gameplay, I was still and still am just blown away on how much it is these guys were able to accomplish.
Sometimes there's creativity in being limited by something. So you give yourself a limiting factor. You say, okay, I cannot do this, I cannot do this, I cannot do that, and you try to come up with the best that you can with your restrictions, and like it limits what you can do, and you have to think outside the box.
Yeah.
I think this can account for a lot there.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. I think if you're given, I mean, it's also like watching people who draw just with pencil on paper or canvas, but yet somehow they're able to achieve these most amazing shadows or high spots, white light spots and stuff like that. And all you got is a pencil, so you have to, or either it's you have to, or you just have the innate, creative ability to do something like that, and. So it's all you got is 4 things to work with. You got to make it work and give it some really good life and make it interesting.
Absolutely,
So.
that's not easy.
Okay, next up, I have no idea how to read Russian. So
Yeah, I don't know either how it's supposed to be pronounced.
So what exactly is this next one here? The improvised from what does it say here? Let me click on it and then not start it though.
So, what you will witness here is some guy named Tom Brier, and he's a fantastic musician who was able to sight read, using a sheet of music.
Yeah.
So he never heard a track before. He reads it and he can play it instantly and perfectly and improvise on it. And like this guy is fantastic. So he's done quite a lot of music from it's really ragtime. Sometimes it comes from video games and some other things. He has a friend who provides him with sheet music and then he arranges it basically on the spot. So unfortunately, this person has he's been rear-ended and a tragic accident. He's still alive, but he lost his faculties, so he's not able to play music anymore. Yeah, that sucks.
Jeez, those are pretty hard. Those are gnarly stories. There, it makes me just get all and I worry about slamming my hands in a door or something. Something like that happens. Really takes it to a whole different level. Well, let's glory and celebrate in a little bit of his talent. So this is an improv by Tom Brier. So let's all sit back and enjoy this.
Tom, here's a lead sheet. The way that you like to play tunes, messing around with them and sometimes slowing down and speeding up, that's a lot like how Russian folk music is played. Really? And so I thought you'd have a lot of fun with a Russian folk song. So I went to a Russian site and I found this lead sheet. And this is probably the most well-known Russian folk song nowadays, since around the 1990s, when an arrangement of it appeared in the original Tetris. So it's a bad tune you may recognize. It was also in a DirecTV commercial recently with the guy.
This guy doing it in a coffee shop too, yeah? Like a library coffee shop.
Yeah, something like that.
that upright piano being slightly out of tune. I love it.
Yep. It adds some authenticity, right?
Yes. It has that old westerns vibe, like you walk into a saloon. Here's this guy playing.
Yeah.
I love his left-hand work, the stride that he's putting in there.
Five.
I can't play piano, but I'm just always impressed with people like that.
Yeah, and he hasn't looked down once.
He can't, he needs to read it.
I think he's adding his own little flex right here.
Oh, he sure is.
He's having the best time ever. Dum, 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 Ah, that's great.
And all of that with just one sheet.
Yeah. That left hand work. Even in of itself, the way it's being played, just minus the room noise, would have worked perfect for a video game. I mean, I know some of it's already in one, but such that ragtime vibe, you know?
He is an expert at it.
Yeah.
Have you played Tetris?
Yes. Even the original version.
Now he's just having fun.
This is his raw improv.
Yep.
It doesn't go that low. Even I knew that. I was like, he ain't going to make it, man. It's not going to go that low.
Oh, that was hilarious.
That was wonderful, man. What a great expose of on-the-fly improv, you know. And I think playing it in this little coffee shop or wherever it is, an antique shop that serves some coffee and read books, or one of those kind of bookstore type of vibes, even makes it a little bit more soulful. No, soulful's not. Yeah, a little bit more soulful about it. But You got people with that kind of talent. It's just mind-numbing to see what they say. Okay, that's almost like when we were listening to music here, and we know when the song loops, and the composer goes, "Well, let me fly off the handle a little bit and do this." And I thought it was great. You know, I thought it was absolutely wonderful, and it's sad to know that he can't do that anymore. I'm sure that's got to be terribly difficult for him. But yes, these types of musicians.
That would be upsetting for sure.
Yeah, you know, and then these type of musicians too. I've met a few of musicians of this caliber, and I just, you know, I live in awe of them and their talents and what they can do, and you know, and because I am 1/64th of that talent, and but maybe that's why I was successful. Maybe the only reason why I was successful as a composer in the pop culture era was because I didn't know that much, you know, and, you know, getting hired to do the kind of work I do, if you know that much music, you're like going, oh no, I'm cooking rice again. You know what I mean? Boilerplate stuff, but extremely talented. And what he did with that was wonderful. I thought that was great. And a very unique addition to the playlist as well.
Yeah, so there's going to be a bit of everything, right? We'll see.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, what do we got next? This is Histoires sans Paroles. What is this about?
So, Histoires sans Paroles means stories without lyrics.
I'm
And,
sorry.
it is
Wait. Say that again. What's the name of the title?
Histoires sans Paroles.
That sounded so beautiful. I so butchered it and turned it into hamburger. Okay, continue.
Yeah, no worries. So it's not your native language, so I can't blame you. So yeah, this is a track it's the entire B-side of the album. This was released in 1976, I think.
Wow.
So you already actually heard one track from this album. And it's sort of proggy and folky. It's a band from over here, from the province of Quebec, and this one, I believe, was recognized outside of our province, which is fairly rare, and made it like in the like something like top 15 prog rock albums of the Rolling Stone or something like that.
Mm.
Anyways, that's a very long track, but it's like a story.
All right.
You'll see.
Let's dive right into it. And the name of I don't want to butcher it, so before I hit play, what's the name of this again?
Histoire sans parole.
Yeah, baby. Here we go. I take it starts off slow or low.
Slow and low.
Yeah.
Can you hear the birds and the waves?
Yeah. What a beautiful way to end that first movement, that first suite.
I think it's appropriate to call it a movement. At this point, it's almost like classical music.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. They're using a 12th string on this. Well, there are a few other string instruments that are double strung like that as well.
I could not tell you what it is.
I love the little arpeggiation of the piano on the upper register. You said this was in the 70s, right?
75.
Yeah, Amon, it does have that kind of Neil Young vibe.
You can also hear a bit of influences from Aqualung, and maybe also I heard a bit of tubular bells.
Yeah, they were back there. Very unique bass tone. I love that. Just bring the strings in just to float you up a little more. It's even giving you that dreamy vibe with the ring, ring.
Is that an harp?
I think it's an ARP, AARP or something. It was more like a hand version of a harp vibe. I forgot what it's called, what the name of that one instrument is. Old folks, you guys remember, anybody in the chat? Where you'd hold it down and play it this way? That's a nice old school pad sound too, right there. Nice.
To me, I don't care much what they say in the lyrics, but the voice is still an instrument.
Yeah, I mean, lyrically, I mean, I was listening to that and I heard more of just la da 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 da, so I don't know if there was any real lyrics in there.
There were none. There are no lyrics in this entire song.
But I love that they came in just because of the tone of the vocal, what it presented in the arrangement. Some nice background vocals going on there as well.
Reminds me a bit of The Great Gig in the Sky.
Oh, I know that one.
The Dark Side of the Moon.
Yeah. Oh, the shift up over here, that's kind of made it a little uncomfortable. Just for a moment.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of a dark contemplation mode right here. That was nice.
I love when natural sounds are incorporated in music.
You like the seagulls in the water and stuff like that? Yeah.
Also like Natural Science from Rush, another one with this.
Yes, right. That's a classic. I like the acoustic guitar, what it's actually answering to on the left side arrangement in the same arpeggiation. I always like how the composer brings us up for a little lift right there. So he's very contemplative here. Still kind of an unknown vibe until he gives you a little dose of sugar. I think it might be here. Yeah. I love how this gives you just more than enough time to settle into the patterns.
Progressively louder crescendo.
Yeah, it's starting to right now. I can feel a little bit already. Now it's getting a little bit of folksy kind of vibe to it. Very uplifting and yeah, Turnip, it definitely has been a 6/8 through the whole vibe. But it has changed tempo. I love that. I love when you can hear the dynamics of the airiness in the performance.
It's really not like the pure sounds you will hear from a virtual instrument or a synth.
Absolutely. And it makes such a difference too. Stuff like that, fret noise from guitar playing, all of that's so important to me. And you can even hear the flautist breathing. That was very much like a super jazzy ending, like at the end of like a scene from like a 007 thing. That last chord, that last little
You're right.
kind of a nice little gliding ending there. It was really, really super beautiful. Now, again, what was the history behind this particular piece? Was it part of a much bigger performance, or was this just kind of a one-off in a project of many?
So in the album, of course, it was a vinyl. You have the A side, B side. This took up the entire B side. The album itself is called Si on avait besoin d'une 5e saison, which means if we needed a 5th season. So on the A side, you have different songs which loosely represent different seasons. So spring, summer, autumn, or fall, and winter. And this one is like a hypothetical 5th season.
I like that. I like the liberties that the composer took, or the people involved in that, to say, well, what if we had another season? It might sound a little something like this. And actually, as I listen to the piece, it does have kind of a purple-violet vibe to it. I listen to music in colors at times. And It does stand out as something that is completely unique. If I was to look at it as possibly being a 5th season, but one that is yet still beautiful and transitional, not harsh like, a winter or a cold winter or a summer or something. It had something very beautiful and floating, like maybe an extended spring vibe, that kind of thing. Like I would see that season fitting between spring and summer, I think, the way it was performed and stuff, so.
And
All
Richie in the chat says something really interesting here. Vivaldi's 5th season. I'm pretty sure this was heavily inspired by the four seasons of Vivaldi.
Ah, Richie, is that what you were pulling from in your post here on the chat? Well, nonetheless, it was such a beautiful song to listen to. So let's go ahead and track on. What is this last one? Or not last one? This looks like I still have a few more here. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's a series of very short tracks, all from the same game, which is called La Mulana. It hasn't been played by too many people, and the people who tried it curse it. But
Why? Because of gameplay, or because of?
Because of the gameplay in part, yeah, for sure. Because it's a very, very, very unforgiving game with difficult bosses to be beaten, very, very difficult puzzles.
Okay.
I mean, it could be considered a puzzle game. It might even be considered a riddle game at this point. It's inspired by older games. It's not that old. It's quite old still at this point, but the music is a callback to older times for sure.
All right. So I guess what I'll do here is we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of this. So we'll just go all the way through it, and we'll talk and chat during and in between it. How about that?
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay, here we go. The artwork kind of giving me Raiders of the Lost Ark vibes.
Oh, it's 100% inspired by Indiana Jones.
Oh, okay.
This here is a track that plays when you launch the game, and you see an animation, like a little trailer.
For a second, it reminded me of almost like the opening of Steve Martin's King Tut song back in the 70s. What's the year this was done?
I have to check. I'm not sure. – 2006 for the original La Mulana. This is from the remake, but I think there isn't much difference between the music of the remake and the older one.
So this was like the opening music, right? As you were setting up for the game?
Exactly. So after that little animation, little trailer, now you get to the main menu. The options, selections, and everything, and this is the main menu music.
It is building up really good anticipation. I like that. Coming from the opening creds to this.
The game is a lot about solving mysteries. To me, that's what it sounds like as well.
Yeah. But in a spooky, dark vibe. I mean, very much in that Indiana Jones vibe. Yeah, but if this is done in 2006, it's interesting how what they're choosing and how they're using it in production, sound-wise. So it must be game on now, right?
So you go into the game and you enter the rooms of La Mulana, and this is the track that plays as you enter them.
This has that positive kind of investigation look and conquer thing. You know, there's nothing dark about the composition except more exploratory.
Adventure time.
Yeah. Interesting drum work.
I apologize, this track is when you just launch the game.
Oh,
The next one will be when you enter the rooms.
okay. It's bizarre though. Kind of sounds like some of these layers don't lock up 100%. But that's just me being a weird producer.
You know, it might be something they intended.
Yeah. That must be like the leitmotif, right?
It will come back.
Will it?
Yeah.
All right,
Yes.
let's see if it comes back here in Fearless. Oh, this is walking into somebody's big house or something.
Exactly. So this is entering the actual rooms.
Okay. But it must be a lot of action going on here, right?
Yes, although it's the very first area of the game, like, well, second, I guess. So it's not very challenging compared to the rest, but it's still very challenging.
Yeah, it's just the music is very driving. There's a lot of chicka 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 chicka, you know, a lot of that going on. Very unique sound choices. I like how those steps, those are like something we would do with the horn section.
It's very upbeat.
Yeah. I love the galloping of the bass. That was nice. Okay, Curse of the Ocean. Ooh, I'm interested in how he does this. This vibe kind of sounds like the beginning of like a driving game or something like that.
So in this case, this is an area of the rooms which is some sort of power water team. So there's water everywhere.
But it's very high energy.
Water. Yeah.
lot going on there. That was supposed to be like a guitar lead. Kind of leaned into that with the solo.
Because there are many different instruments talking to each other.
Yeah. Well, that's also how you know, I mean, as an arranger and a composer, I'm going to stop this here so we can chat a little bit. I guess because the next series of these are remakes of songs from this existing video game.
It's the exact same video game. It's just a different thumbnail.
Okay, so what's unique about this, and we'll continue on, but is that what I like about listening to these composers, I don't need to repeat myself from the earlier one, which is like how extraordinary it is that they can take what they have and they put up a lot of layers. But if this, in this case, we were talking about 16-bit then, this is 2006, and this is that interesting thing for me as a producer, when you get into the mind of, I think, the devs or the producers of games and stuff like that, and they know just how powerful the embryonic musical composition beginnings, the sounds, that vibe is still so important in a lot of gameplay. And what I mean is a lot of that stab sound stuff is a lot of times in the world of composing and arranging, sometimes we have a range of samples. Let's say if we're playing a sample, a stabby sound, and it sounds really good and authentic in maybe the first octave, but as you get out of the octave, it starts to sound a little thinner and cheesier and stuff, and that is not a bad thing, but that's kind of becomes part of the kind of part of the composer's salad bar, if you would, to actually use that. Even though it sounds, when he goes up, it sounds cheesier and thinner as it goes up these stabs, it's become like part of the sonic fabric of the composition. And I really can appreciate that. And then to lean in on something that you said is the fact that there are a lot of layers happening there. And I think you've probably been on the stream when I've talked about that little segment that, did you ever see the movie Amadeus?
I have not.
Oh, you haven't? Oh my God. DR, please promise me at some point you've got to rent that movie. I think, especially since you have an ear and all that, I think you can really appreciate it. Now, that movie was in the 80s, I believe. Anyhow, the spoiler alert, but it's a small little section where he has a little bit of an argument with the emperor about, well, actually not the emperor, one of the emperor's little minions that doesn't really like Mozart, argues that there's just too much going on, and how many notes, and all too many notes for the ear to handle. But in kind of another part of another scene has to do with the fact that Amadeus talks about if 15 people talk all at once, it's noise, just noise. But if you take 15 different instruments and arrange them, it becomes an incredible piece. This is kind of that vibe. Of course, it's not 15 instruments, but you can have so many things going on in there, and it still can come off as just a really great piece of sonic artwork. All these little pieces happening, and that's what was happening here, and it was really fun. I love tracks like that, or at least these last few tracks. So let's go ahead and muddle on. We have 1, 2, 3, 4. As you're saying, these are just different thumbnails, but from the same game, correct?
Exactly.
Okay, let's continue on. All right. It almost sounds though like the instrumentation is slightly different. Or maybe they're just using it.
Went with a more like futuristic kind of sound.
Yes, yes, very much so.
Which makes sense as well with the game, because now you enter an area that seems more like, futuristic.
Okay. Because you can even tell with the arpeggiation, the stereo imaging of the hard left bouncing around and right. A little ticky arpeggiation. There's a cheesy little muted rock guitar pattern going on there. It's so cool. And I also like how the composer writes in a way where there's a easy loop point.
Yeah, because you heard the first section twice, and you're thinking, okay, yeah, this is the loop, this is over, and then he throws you for a loop and
No pun.
starts something new.
Yeah. That little piano. Does the game play like a platformer?
Yes, it does. Mostly, because sometimes with bosses it can change a little bit.
Look at me like I'm really like a platformer or a sandbox. Or
2D platformer.
It's almost like the composer really dialed back into the 8-bit style, just using more modern sounds.
That's absolutely it. It was inspired by games of an older era, and I'm pretty sure they wanted to bank that nostalgia and the feeling that you had when you played these games.
Yeah. Yeah, Lisa, there is a little bit of that Mortal Kombat vibe, especially when it's that.
All of these tracks are for different areas of the game. There are other tracks, of course, that I did not put in for bosses and stuff. They are more energetic as well. Even though this is fairly energetic, the boss music is even more so.
Really? Wow. There's this harmony of the melody that's playing always going, which is unique. It's a split that you hear on this side. So you hear the primary on here, right about here, but switch you hear back here in this corner. That was fun. And that bass grinding. And then once again, the composer making it an easy place to loop, you know, so for gameplay can continue on.
Exactly. Maybe some Indian influence here.
A little bit.
It is called A Song of Fury. Makes sense.
Yes, but there's also Japanese curry. No, I'm kidding.
You're right. And you know, this is actually a Japanese game.
There's the blend right there. Miso soup and curry. That pattern back there. He's got it assigned to 2 different sounds. Sounds so cool. Yeah, that was some Japanese curry going on there, but there were those little flecks of like the India influences. Okay, what's this one? The Awakening.
This is the last one.
Okay.
This is the area track for the very final area of the game.
Is it a boss fight or is it a getting through it?
It's getting through it, and then you get to the final boss fight.
Okay.
So do you recognize the motive?
Yeah.
They
What was the name of this
took the main menu.
What was the name of this composer?
Let me look it up. I might butcher his name. It's Takumi Naramura, and there's also Uryu Samejima.
Sound like you said that right.
I will hope so. So they basically took the main menu music and, well, modified it, took the same motif and made it more upbeat,
Yeah.
which is fitting for a final area of your game.
This is probably a loop point.
Yes, it is. And now it will fade.
I love the fact that the last, 6, 8 tracks that you played coming from a single game. And I also like the explanation you gave me of what's going on, because it's theater of the mind to me, because I obviously don't know the game and stuff. But, once again, through your journey that I just went on, the lean of the whole thing for me is just the fact that I'm always just gobstopped, as they might say, or just blown away at just how uniquely. I guess there's no, you can't. I guess to be safe, you can't compare this kind of media composition to anything else. And what I mean by that is that it's always so powerfully musical. It's not like some kind of cheater soundtrack just to throw in with a game to make it work. And the respect, and you've heard me say this many times, the respect that the devs have, that the music has to be as intricate as might be the gameplay. Now you said this particular game though caught some flack because it was, was it too brainy? You said, or to get out past the next sections, was it too puzzly?
Well, yes, it is both very difficult from a puzzle perspective and also the battle in the game. So not too many people get to enjoy it.
So by virtue of reviews, people didn't dive into it, right? Everybody kept on reviewing, or was it just not as distributed as heavily as some of the other games?
It definitely wasn't as popular as the big titles. It's an indie game,
it's an indie
independent game. Yeah.
I see. Well, the music was great. And as I mentioned at the beginning of this line of tracks from this game, it's just another thing for me to kind of sit back and just realize the kind of work composers actually go through when they make that decision to say, well, we want to sound retro, but we're using today's sounds, but then to try to keep that bridled, like riding horses, trying to pull on the reins back just enough so that beast doesn't get away from you, because they have the options to kick ass and completely flourish. When we were talking about how many layers they can actually put in, they still have options to blow it out, even bigger. But they stay to that really odd, it's an odd triggering of a sound that happens when I was talking about the triggered sample area. You know, just to circle back to what I said earlier, how it sounds like the attack and the releases of those things are so late 80s, early 90s sounding, yet this was done in 2006. So the importance of keeping that integrity is so profound in the tracks that we just heard, you know, and to me, that's beyond the scope of my brain cell capacity to want, you know. But
Well, if you had experience or the will to do it, I'm sure you would be able to.
I think so. In my mind, when I listen to tracks like this, you know, the process that I go through is, I'm running through thousands of patches in my head that are like, what does that sound like? What would I do? How would I, you know? So in my mind, I'm listening to it, I'm getting into it, but once I have a certain taste for it, I now back up into my head as a composer and go, what kind of timpani is that? What timpani would I be using if that was the job? Okay, what kind, you know, and my brain starts to kind of drift a little bit more into like when I'm looking under the hood of something, I get it. Okay, here's the composition. This is how it's working. Especially if it's something like this that has a tendency to loop, I start to go in. Where's that sound coming from? What is that? Is that an 808? Is that a this and that and the other thing? And so for me, it's just kind of a fun practice in another level of. As I play in the composer puddle, if you would, that you're right. If in a time I was just as passionate as these composers were when they got hired, I'd be able to get somewhere close, but not really. I don't know. That's kind of a dangerous area because me getting close would be only because I used this as an influence. So the truth be told, if I use this like as an influence of and the other compositions earlier, then I'd probably be able to get a grasp at it. But if you were to tell me authentically, could you write something fresh and new that sounds a little like this and this is where I'd have to stand back and just hold up the white flag. And you know, these composers from Japan especially have such a unique mindset and approach on composition that doesn't register with me. Later I get it. When you and I hear this, or all of us here, you know, on the stream, hear the music, then I get it and I can pick it up, but I could sit here and just go, how do they come up with this stuff? I mean, there must be a different kind of strain of drugs or something. But I want to thank you for taking us through this journey. This was also a very unique experience for me, and as I'm sure for you, to do this new channel redeem kind of thing. And I appreciate you also having the patience and me getting back to you. It took me a few weeks to like go, oh my God, that's right, I got to do that. But I appreciate it, you know. Guys out in the stream, did you guys enjoy this? For the few of you that are here, tell me, did this nice little different way of presenting our music? But yeah, it looks like everybody dug it. Well, then you guys save up all your, instead of doing the 40K channel points, you know, if you just save up your points, and we could sit here in the lobby in the lounge like DR and myself and just have a little more personalized session with it, you know. And not everybody too. Doesn't mean that you have to be on video. You know, we could do it with like, you know, your voice, but put up a, you know, a profile, your profile artwork or whatever. But anyhow, well, listen, you hang on. I'm going to end this stream, but I want you to hang on so we can chat a little bit before we bail. But I want to thank everybody for joining us here. And this was really, really fun. I really enjoyed it. And also what's really fun about this, what we were doing, is it gives me an opportunity to ask different questions, being that it's more like just this intimate kind of listening session, though we're sharing it with you guys. So save up those channel points. And then finally, I do want to say that Wednesday's going to be mostly Wheel of Cheese. We're going to do donos, but I'm also going to announce what Halloween video game jump scare 80, what do you call the thing, you know, for whatever video game you guys want me to play. I'm going to be doing that announcement on Wednesday as well. So both DR and myself, big fat aloha to everybody. Thank you guys so much for joining us on this special stream. I am going to kick it live on Twitch in about 15-20 minutes, and then I'm going to take the same exact video and put it up on our YouTube channel as well. So from DNLR from damn registration and myself, big fat aloha to everybody. Now you guys gotta help me press the right button. I have been a complete button mess today. All right, man.
Goodbye,
Thank you
everyone.
yeah, goodbye, you guys.